Hello everyone, my name is Linda Montes and I am here to talk with you about designing lessons for designated ELD. Even if you are not the teacher for your grade level, that is the teacher for designated ELD, all of us, if we're working in the Redwood City School District, are teachers of language learners. So this also applies if you're a structured English immersion classroom where you have students who are learning academic language, which is all of us. And so this includes how to design lessons for that integrated ELD part of the day, so academic language development throughout the day. So there's a specific template that we've developed that supports the development and designing of these lessons. I'm going to talk with you about the steps to take when you are designing designated ELD lessons. So first of all, you all know that in your blend space you're able to find these social science units that have been developed that are standard based and Common Core aligned. We've spent lots of time talking about that already. And what we know is that designated ELD needs to be done in the context of a content area like science or social science. It needs to be rigorous time, and students need to be grouped according to their CELT levels, their EL levels. And so based on what we know, current research about what is the best way to instruct students for designated ELD in order to become what is called reclassified or proficient in English, we've developed some templates for you as you design lessons for designated ELD. Okay, so the first thing we do is we take the template, whether you're using Science FOSS kits for your unit that you're coming up with or a social science unit. We want to be able to look through your unit and come to the place where you know what the outcome will be or what the evaluation will be for the students. So in this particular fourth grade unit on growing California and the rise of the state, the performance task, that summative assessment, is going to be for students to develop and demonstrate their understanding through narrative writing. So we want them to write a biography, an autobiography, a story of some sort, documentary that will culminate their understandings that they've learned. Okay? So given that, this is what's happening during that social science block, during that integrated ELD block. We also know that for students who are at CELT levels 1, 2, and 3, they do need to have a designated time of the day when they are learning English with the express purpose of knowing how English works. So what we've done is develop a planning tool, and in October I led you through a professional development podcast that was just about designing these monthly ELD lessons. So I'm just going to show you quickly. What I did was, taking this fourth grade unit as an example, wrote down, we're talking about social studies, the unit is called Growing California and the Rise of the State. I'm working with students who are at CELT levels 1, 2, probably beginning threes. It's going to be taught in February. The main outcome of this unit is that students will understand the population is made up of citizens from diverse cultural groups, and the interactions between cultures will impact each other and bring both cooperation and conflict. That's from the social studies unit. The performance assessment is in the area of narrative writing, as I said. So during the designated ELD lessons, for all the weeks that you are teaching this particular lesson or this unit, each week during your designated ELD block should be about supporting students and getting them to this final outcome of narrative writing. And so if you recall back in October, what I did was pretty much just chunked the lessons, these lesson sequence, and pulled out what I thought would be most essential that my students in ELD would need more support in. So using this read aloud suggestion, I'm going to read one of the stories. I'm going to reread it during designated ELD. And during that designated ELD, I'm really going to begin this whole idea of what is narrative writing? What does that mean? Because I know that's the final outcome. And for students who are English learners, they'll need more support. So if I know that ultimately at the end of the 6 or 7 week unit, each week my designated ELD lessons are tied to helping students arrive to this performance assessment, throughout the weeks, my main topics are going to be something that will support the students in this to get to this narrative writing. Okay, so everybody else is doing this during their social science time, right? Social studies time. So are the designated ELD students during that content-based time. During designated ELD, I'm going to reread that story, but this time I'm really going to give them some understanding that in a narrative, in a story, there's sequence. And one way to support the students in understanding this is to use the graphic organizers that helps them organize their thinking. So what you will see is that for each week, there is one graphic organizer that's directly aligned to the outcome for that week. If we want students to sequence in order to support them in their language development, I'm going to give them, and this is just an example, of a sentence frame to help them as they're working through this weekly lessons, and I'll talk to you more about that. So basically what I'm doing is each week I'm taking a suggestion that's done during the social studies time, and for designated ELD, I'm going more in depth. So this week I'm going to focus on characters, thoughts, work, describe in depth the character, setting, or event. The following week I'm doing the same thing, but if you notice, I'm also going to focus on dialogue, because in 4th grade narrative writing, there needs to be lots of dialogue, and the students need to understand that they need to write and include dialogue in a narrative, in a story. And then as I go through the lessons, I see something else that's important for them is to look at the experiences and understand what's first-person account. And so a way to do that is for them to compare and contrast first-person accounts, third-person account narrations, because this is what I want them to do eventually anyway. So again, taking directly from the unit, something that's going to come up in the unit that they can do more in-depth work on during designated ELD is this compare and contrast point. And obviously I know that Venn diagrams support in that, and I need to give them sentence frames, etc. So that's how you work on that. So another one is cause and effect. They're going to write a story about cause and effect. Here's the graphic organizer I'm giving them, sentence frame I'm giving them. And then ultimately, we're spending more time, more in depth each week to support them in the writing of that final narrative, right? So I'm not teaching the content of social studies during designated ELD at all. What I am doing is taking the opportunity that they are given during that social science block, during that content literacy block where I'm teaching literacy through social studies. I'm going more in depth during the designated ELD to support those language learners, and I'm giving them specific sentence frames, graphic organizers, and real explicit instruction. Okay, so what does that look like weekly? Because this is our monthly guide. So I took information from the monthly unit to create designated ELD monthly outline for what I'm doing. So the next part